It's my great pleasure to welcome you at today's official launch of a project which is titled Support for Ukrainian Refugees through Media. It is implemented thanks to support from UNESCO and of course the main donor is the government of Japan. And I'm so glad that we have the opportunity to have representatives of these important organizations present at today's launch. My name is Rastja Kužel. I'm from MEMO 98. It is a media monitoring organization which has been monitoring media in about 60 countries. When we do this monitoring, we do it mainly to improve the media coverage of different topics. Now, we believe that by supporting good quality journalism, we actually most effectively can respond to disinformation, to something that some address as fake news. This is something which is really present, unfortunately, including in this particular topic. It is a very important topic for us. It's very close to our heart because we have been working in Ukraine since 1999, and we really think that it is very important for Slovak media to actually understand a little bit more context of what is happening in Ukraine, what is happening more globally with this particular issue of refugees. And so it is with this, in our thinking that we very gladly decided to be the Slovak organization implementing this project in Slovakia, but it is an international project, and we are very glad that we have international experts who will be spending time with Slovak media in this today and tomorrow, but then we'll travel also to Romania and Moldova. So it's a project which is implemented in 3 countries at this stage. We will start by a video address from Mr. Taflik Jelassi, who is the Assistant Director General for Communications and Information from UNESCO. But I will also, I have the pleasure to also welcome Mr. Hiroshi Nawara, who is Chargé d'Affaires at the Embassy of Japan in the Slovak Republic. I also would like to introduce Ms. Daniela Popovic-Efendic, who is the head of UNHCR National Office in Slovakia, Mr. Jan Orlovsky, who is the chair of Migration Office of the Slovak Republic, Ms. Aniko Dušíková, who is the member of the Media Council, or rather Council for Media Services, also Ms. Alina Grafiova, who is a journalist from Slovak Spectator, and last but not least, Mr. Mako Šučin, who is the program specialist from UNESCO. I hope I pronounce your name correctly. So as you see, we have many speakers, and I would like to kindly ask all presenters or speakers, hopefully to limit their presentations to 5 minutes. But as I said, let's start with the video message at the beginning.
I am pleased to address this multi-stakeholder forum, which is a crucial component of the support for Ukrainian refugees through media project and part of UNESCO's actions concerning the situation in Ukraine. This project represents an innovative approach involving media to address the refugee situation across neighboring countries. Let me at the outset express my gratitude to the government of Japan, which has made this initiative possible through its generous funding. Its invaluable support enables us to implement this project in Moldova, Romania, and Slovakia, together with the governments and sister UN agencies, in particular the UNHCR, local partners on the ground, and many others. The current humanitarian crisis in Europe, one of the most severe since the Second World War, demands a united response from the UN and its many entities, including through the Regional Refugee Response Plan for the Ukraine situation, to which this project contributes. Universal access to information and freedom of expression for all are fundamental human rights. These rights hold significant relevance for the millions of Ukrainian refugees who now find themselves in welcoming but foreign lands. While most of these refugees hope to return home soon, a study commissioned by UNESCO from the Norwegian Refugee Council indicates that they face challenges in accessing information about their situation in host countries and engaging in public discourse. This challenge is intensified by language barriers and limited availability of content in the mainstream media of the host countries, tailored to the refugees' media habits and information needs. Considering these circumstances, a significant aspect of the project seeks to support national and local media outlets in the host countries to produce and broadcast content for and by Ukrainian refugees, addressing their interests and concerns. Given the diverse demographics of Ukrainian refugees across Europe, it is vital that media coverage meets their changing information needs as they continue to navigate an uncertain future. By integrating displaced Ukrainian media professionals into the editorial teams of beneficiary media outlets, the project offers refugees an opportunity to participate in the media production process. This 12-month emergency assistance project builds on UNESCO's unique mandate and decades-long experience in promoting freedom of expression and the development of free, independent, and pluralistic media. Seldom have mainstream media, a key stakeholder group, been involved in a refugee response in such a comprehensive manner. Through supporting and collaborating with media, this project helps foster dialogue and understanding between refugees and their host communities. In the absence of reliable information and understanding, misunderstanding, rumors, and disinformation thrive. Media is key to strengthening and promoting inclusive and fact-based public debates. As the fourth estate, news organizations hold the means to counter suspicion, fear, and social stigmas. In today's complex and shifting media landscape, a multitude of sources and experts sometimes offer contradictory information. Journalists, editors, and many other media professionals not only provide an overview of refugee situations, but also verify facts, provide context, and offer diverse perspectives in service of the public. As the world continues to evolve, media organizations, the guardians of truth, need to constantly update their knowledge base to remain current and uphold the values we hold dear, and to safeguard information as a public good. UNESCO supports media across the globe in enhancing its institutional and editorial capacities to report on the pressing issues of today, such as climate change, displacement, and terrorism. That's why we have today gathered media organizations for a series of workshops on ethical and conflict-sensitive reporting following this multi-stakeholder dialogue. I would like to emphasize that the project is committed to involving various actors across sectors. We are pleased to see our partners creating opportunities like this very event for networking and collaboration among the media themselves and with other stakeholders, such as governments and humanitarian agencies. This can propel mainstream media into becoming a hub for coordinated information dissemination to Ukrainian refugees. It is evident that participating in the interagency Regional Refugee Response Plan, coordinated by the UNHCR, also contributes to this objective. Where robust knowledge-based discussion thrive, progress and development follow suit. I hope the connections established between different participants will continue to grow beyond the project cycle, serving as a testament to its success. In closing, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude once again to the government of Japan and the many organizations and individuals contributing to the making and implementation of this important project. I wish you productive discussions at today's meeting and subsequent workshops.
Super, thank you for this video address by Mr. Tafik Jelassi. Before I give the floor to the next speaker, perhaps I wanted to just make one more comment to say that this support comes in a very timely period for Slovakia. And I wanted to emphasize especially the role of Slovak media, particularly after the full-scale invasion started on the 24th of February, where it was actually at their own initiative that they started offering to concrete Ukrainian colleagues the ability to be able to tell their stories. But obviously, as with any war, there is also certain fatigue. And unfortunately, I think this is the period which we are facing in Slovakia at the moment. So, if the project could help again to sort of stimulate a little bit more about the concrete stories, I think that's again the best recipe, as it was mentioned also in this speech, to disinformation, which unfortunately this country has suffered quite a bit. And that is, I think, that the project could help to tackle. So again, thank you very much to the government of Japan for this support. And with this, Your Excellency, let me give you the floor.
Thank you very much. Please.
You can.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Hiroshi Nagata, Deputy Chief of Mission from Japan Embassy in Slovakia. Today, I'm pleased to be a part of this event representing Government of Japan. Please let me begin by expressing my sincere respect for all people of Ukraine amid the difficulties of continuing Russia's aggression, and by reiterating Japan's solidarity with all people of Ukraine. Japanese Prime Minister visited Ukraine in March of this year and witnessed the tragedy on the ground. And it reinforced Japan's conviction that Russia's aggression against Ukraine is an outrageous act that undermines the foundations of international order. Japan has been supporting Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Japan will continue to work closely with the international community and will impose strict sanctions against Russia while providing support for Ukraine. As the chair of G7, Japan hosted the G7 Hiroshima Summit meeting in May of this year. At the meeting, together with G7 and other leaders and participation of President of Ukraine, the leaders share the view. An act of Russia or any unilateral attempt to change status quo by force is unacceptable anywhere in the world. The leaders also reached consensus that it is important to uphold the free and open international order based on the rule of law. To achieve such goals and objectives, Japan has been consistently assist Ukraine amount to 7.6 billion US dollars on the needs of people in and out Ukraine. Japan's contribution to this project support the Ukrainian refugees through media is part of its efforts to assist Ukraine on the needs of Ukraine with the international community and partners. Refugees of Ukraine face difficulties and challenges when they are away from their home country. They can be and should be more self-reliant and resilient by successfully accessing to reliable information and news. Media plays a critical role to reach refugees and provide them with useful information news. I understand this project will, in assisting building such capacity of media and in assisting Ukrainian refugees to care themselves. I hope this project will contribute to creating favorable conditions to the refugees of Ukraine in Slovakia. I also hope utmost efforts of UNICEF and those involved in this project will make it possible achieving expected results. In closing, I must say Japan will stand with people of Ukraine to restore peace on their beautiful land. Thank you very much.
Super, thank you very much. Without further ado, let me now give the floor to Ms. Daniela Popovic-Efendic, who is the head of UNHCR in Slovakia.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, it is a great pleasure for me to be participating in this session today on behalf of UNHCR, the United Nations Refugee Agency, together with the Migration Office and our donor, Embassy of Japan, and the specialists on journalism and media. I would like to thank UNESCO and the partner, MEMO 98, for contributing with this project to the interagency response plan for the Ukraine situation, which UNHCR is leading in the country together with the 27 humanitarian partners, with the aim to complement the government-led efforts in addressing the needs of refugees. As we are all aware, the war in Ukraine has resulted in forced displacement and humanitarian needs not witnessed in Europe for decades. Since February 2022, we are experiencing the biggest and the fastest growing refugee crisis in Europe since the Second World War. I will just give some figures for the better picture. As of today, there are over 5.8 million refugees from Ukraine recorded in Europe, of a total of 6.2 million Ukrainian refugees recorded globally. At the end of 2022, just to give you some global picture in the world today, 108.4 million people worldwide were forcibly displaced, including, out of this number, 35.3 million are refugees. And behind these numbers are the lives of real people that are devastated, families separated, schools, homes, and communities destroyed, loved ones lost or left behind, futures forever disrupted. The support offered for those fleeing Ukraine has been nothing short of extraordinary in many countries. From governments, civil society, individuals and volunteers, NGOs and local organizations, as well as private sector actors. The government of Slovakia and its people have generously kept the borders open, and national, district and local authorities have rapidly responded to a large number of arrivals. Local communities have taken a welcoming stance with humanitarian actors, civil society, the private sector and community volunteers complementing the government-led efforts by providing significant support at the border reception points and urban areas. As of today, more than 1.6 million Ukrainians and some third country nationals in need of international protection have crossed the borders into Slovakia. And 80% of them are basically women and children. Out of this number, close to 125,000 applied for temporary protection in Slovakia. And out of that number, currently 107,000 got a valid temporary protection status in the country. So I just wanted to show you from the global picture of 100 and something million displaced people, we are coming down to 107,000 refugees from Ukraine in Slovakia. As a humanitarian organization of the United Nations, UNHCR's immediate focus in Slovakia and the rest of refugee hosting countries is on supporting national efforts to ensure refugees access to protection and assistance on a non-discriminatory basis, including the rights associated with temporary protection or similar other legal statuses. One thing I would like to stress here is not to forget that refugees also with them bring their experiences, skills, and attributes, and need to be empowered so that can rebuild their lives and contribute to their local societies. And this is already supported by evidence which confirms the positive economic impact of including refugees in labor markets related to their income and level of consumption, which returns to the local economy through the taxes. Not to forget positive impacts on refugees' physical and mental health. Just for an illustration, there is a report produced by the Institute of Finance under the Ministry of Finance. It's a complicated economic analysis, but the final outcome is that in 2022, government spent 0.3 BDP on refugees from Ukraine, while refugees contributed 0.1 BDP to the Slovak economy by taxes they paid, by services and goods they purchased. The projection for 2023 was that government will spend 0.3% GDP, while refugees will contribute 0.3% GDP. Through further employment, taxes, consumption, purchase. And in the years after 2024, the contribution coming from the refugees will exceed the money that a government had to pay for them. So these are very clear economic benefits of the refugee presence in Slovakia. And I think this has to be recognized because very often we hear how much refugees are expensive, how much they cost. When we look into the facts, they show the different. So this is just one of the examples. And the media actors play a key role in sharing these kind of stories and information about refugees and asylum seekers. And in doing so, they need to keep illuminating the human realities behind the numbers. The media landscape has the ability to increase public understanding of the situation and share facts as regarding the qualifications and skills of refugees and their potential to contribute to the local communities. Communication channels and reporting are tools of great importance for all of us. So I would like to add in my closing that we have gathered here today in support of our collective efforts to ensure that refugees are heard and that the media can play an important role in debunking the myths that often appear around refugees. UNHCR very much welcomes this initiative as an important resource in ensuring language used when reporting on refugees, that it is appropriate and avoids causing harm using damaging terminology. And UNHCR Slovakia stands ready to keep working with local media in this direction. While we are all aware of the challenges ahead, however, we have to agree that we can and must do more to offer such hope, opportunities and solutions to refugees, including by conveying information in the public interest of refugee stories and experiences, doing so in a manner that strives for quality. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you in particular for highlighting these economic benefits, because this is really something that we don't see always in the public domain. It is something which I believe that really media could contribute to. I will give the floor now to Mr. Orlovsky, who is the one who is dealing with some of these issues on the side of the Slovak government. So, Mr. Orlovsky, what do you think, I mean, really about the media's role in sort of tackling this stereotyping on the side of the population, that we have always tendency to look at the negative aspects? And of course, let's not hide it. I mean, any refugee crisis has also negative aspects and effects on population. But why don't we see also the advantages, or the diversity? Not to say about the crisis in various sectors where Ukrainians could be extremely helpful to us. Please.
Thank you very much, Rasim. Thank you for actually inviting me over for this very important issue of actually promoting migration as a topic which this society has not actually approached for years. When we look at 2015 and Syrian crisis, actually thousands of people just walked 10 kilometers away from our border straight to Austria. So actually in that period, even though there was a public outcry, there was no effect in a sense of actually investing into any infrastructure, investing into public opinion or media situation. So basically almost a million people walked by and went to Germany. So nothing really happened since then. In 2018, we canceled the only thing we did for actually traveling migrants, and it was the emergency transfer center in Humene, which we worked with UNHCR very closely on. And that's in the 10 years of operation of that center, 1,047 people were transferred from UNHCR camps across the globe to Canada or Switzerland or other places in the world. We stopped doing even that. So when 2022 February came, it was fortunately people who we had some kind of at least idea who they are, because part of Eastern Slovakia is closely related to Ukraine. Therefore, it didn't feel like a strange element. That's why I think the response was faster. The response was more human, and it was actually lasting. So in terms of what I see as major challenges, this has been present even before the war started. So all the public sector weak points have been just emphasized by the arrival of thousands of people from Ukraine. Daniela has mentioned 120,000+ people who actually received temporary protection. But our estimated guess is that we have less than a mid-sized city of Ukrainians residing in Slovakia at this point. So most of them left to other countries or came back. So our estimate is that there are about 50,000 to 60,000 people who are currently residing in Slovakia. And many of them have changed. Actually, almost 5,000 have changed their status from temporary protection to permanent, to temporary stay in the country in order to be able to conduct business and so on. So the 5 main challenges I see here are education, because we still have half of children of Ukraine in Slovakia who are not attending school. Second is housing, because this country is the least, is at the very, very end of the European Union in terms of public housing available to anybody, not just Ukrainians, but even to young families in the country. And the reason for it is that we screwed up our housing market back in the 90s. There is only 90% of housing units in the country are owned by people. So the government or regional government or municipality doesn't really have any tools available in their hands to offer to anybody incoming to Slovakia. Here is a cheap housing while you put your act together. So anything which is available is only commercial market. And that's why continuation of contribution for housing allowance is important after 2023, because at the moment housing allowance is set for end of December this year. Nothing is planned for 2024. And this government had 30 days to go, so we'll see what happens in the next quarter. The third challenge is job market. There are plenty of, there is more than 70,000 empty job offers in the country, which nobody is taking. So again, to access that labor market for Ukrainian or any foreigner is to basically get to know the language. You can basically take the jobs of entry level, which is always the case of, I think, refugees anywhere. But in order to progress to a better paid job or better position, you need to learn the language, and also you have to confide with the rules and rules of the game. So if you want to be a doctor, you have to go through the tests, of course. But I think also the country can do much more in terms of easing testing. I mean, if you want to be a cook, you don't have to learn perfect Slovak. If I give you the ingredients on the table and tell you make goulash, and if you can make it, I don't need to test you in your perfect Slovak. It's absolutely unnecessary. The fourth is healthcare, and I think in many ways Ukrainians had much better healthcare situation back home than they have in Slovakia. Unfortunately, our ailing healthcare system is the fact of UNHCR that 1/4 of Ukrainians staying in Slovakia travel back home not to see the parents or the grandparents, but to actually take healthcare back home. Which tells you something also about the quality, quote unquote, of Slovak healthcare system. And the fifth is the reason why we actually met is the public opinion. And it's absolutely right that Ukrainians living in Slovakia can listen to their own news back home, but they need to know what's going on in the country, and they need to give their story out to the Slovak population. They are entitled that people know what their fates are like. What they dream about, what they care about, what they want from the society. And it's not just the acceptance. It's basically after almost 600 days here, I think they have absolute full rights to be part of the society, integral part of the society. Daniela also mentioned the figures, how much they contribute. Almost nobody in this country knows that so far the war in Ukraine cost us 11 euros per citizen. 11 euros. I mean, it's nothing because of the influx of foreign resources via international organizations, via embassies, via European Union. Slovakia spent 11 euros per citizen to fight the war in Ukraine, or to actually not fight, but assist the conditions. So we had major contributions to Slovak society in terms of easing their energy bills, making the situation for pensioners better, for families who received hundreds of euros this year. We paid 11 per person. So it's nothing. And I think the story has to be repeated over and over. So I'm really grateful for this project, giving the voice to Ukrainians, and also making sure that the public opinion kind of like wakes up to the situation that migration is here to stay, regardless if it's the transitory one, which is now being a big issue in the south of Slovakia, or the one actually filling out the empty job spaces we have in the country. So thank you for that. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much, Janko, and it's really amazing that only 11 euro, but you know, I think this problem is definitely deeper, and we have seen also in our monitoring projects in the past when we focused on the coverage of Roma, and this is a minority that lives inside Slovakia. How difficult it is, you know, to fight these stereotypes. So, with this, I'm gonna give the floor to Ms. Aniko Dušíková from the Council for Media Services. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit on, again, this important role of the media in fighting this stereotyping, regardless if we are talking about refugees or minorities. And maybe you can also elaborate a little bit on some of your activities that you have done recently, you know, increasing maybe the media literacy of people, perhaps also in this area. So I'm gonna pass you the microphone.
Thank you. Thank you. Since the beginning of the war, the Council, the authority, has war-related complaints. But the main issues for listeners, viewers, users are images of violence, disinformation. So the portraying of the refugees in the news or in the media from this point of view are not one of the main issues. But nevertheless, we all know that the refugees from Ukraine are mostly women and children, and they should be protected. And therefore, there is a need to adhere to the ethical reporting guidelines, stick to them, stick to these standards. It's inevitable. And because, and there is another but, we all live in the world of social media. We are used to it that we on the internet can see everything, and we will see it as soon as possible. So we are somehow dumbed down, and also in the high profile, high quality media, in a high quality television, can we see images of violence, and these images are not blurred, or there is no warning that the following images can cause harm on minors or for sensitive persons. So in these times, we, not only the media, but we all create the content, and we should know it, and so we all should agree on standards and stick to these standards. This is the greatest challenge, but I'm an optimist, so I hope for the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I definitely share your optimism. And one thing that I have already learned from our distinguished experts, who I will also introduce a little bit later, is experience from Canada. And there is one particular line which sticks in my mind, which is "no story about us without us." And we have tried to already implement this also for this particular panel. And therefore, I'm very, very happy to introduce Alina Grafiova from Slovak Spectator. And if I mentioned this very prompt reaction from Slovak media right after the full-scale invasion, I think SME and Slovak Spectator really stands high on this, because not only did they, in a way, provide or have been providing very objective coverage of what is happening, you know, in Ukraine, but they have been the first to actually, you know, start the Ukrainian version I mean, as a part of Slovak Spectator, which I think is really exceptional. and then another partner to the project, which is TA3, has also been providing similar support. So, Alina, how do you see it from your perspective? I mean, how important it is for you to be able to tell your own story? How important you believe it is for Slovak public, which, as we heard, has sometimes difficulties to fully understand what is happening in your country. You know, who is responsible for these for these terrible crimes that are happening as we speak.
Ďakujem pekne. Vlastne budem rozprávať po slovensky. Ja som akože z Ukrajiny, prišla sem pred 5 rokmi a vlastne už rátam Slovensko ako svoj dom. A osobne myslím si, že na ráno 24. februára 2022 akože ťažko zabudne každý Ukrajinec a o 10 rokov neskôr. A bez ohľadu na to, kde sa človek nachádzal... Aha, tak počkam. Pardon.
Ďakujeme, že ste počkali.
Aj bez ohľadu na to, kde sa človek nachádzal v čase, keď počul slova ruské tanky nastupujú na Kyjev. Či doma v posteli, v práci, alebo v bezpečnom živote v zahraničí. Odvtedy a každý deň Ukrajinci držia palce a čakajú na víťazstvo a mier pre svoju krajinu. Mnoho ľudí vtedy, rovnako ako i dnes, opúšťajú svoje domova, aby zachránili svoje životy a životy svojich detí. A niektorí ľudia zanechajú doslova všetko, čo majú. A sťahujú sa žiť na bezpečnejšie miesta. A nerobia to z dobrej vôle alebo zo šťastných snov. Oni akože zachraňujú si najväčšiu hodnotu, ktorú majú, tak svoje životy. A v súčasnosti na Slovensku získalo dočasné útočisko, ako bolo už povedané, viac ako 100 000 Ukrajincov a vlastne oni tu študujú slovenčinu, oni sa snažia rozprávať po slovensky a deti schopní asi za pol roka, akože už dobre rozprávajú celkovo. Oni spoznávajú slovenské tradície, chodia do školy a pracujú. Oni chcú sa socializovať a žiť aspoň trochu tým životom, ktorý mali pred tou inváziou. A ja osobne rozmýšľam, čo by som mohla urobiť pre týchto ľudí, keď už tu bývam dlhšie, a čo by som mohla urobiť pre tých ľudí a pre svoju krajinu. Najprv niekoľko vecí z môjho pohľadu boli a je dôležité. Prvá vec, ktorú som robila a stále robím, to ide viac o psychologickej téme, to ide o pochopení ich. To ide o pochopenie a z celého srdca sa snažím i pochopiť a komunikovať s tými ľuďmi, s ktorými tu sa stretávam, vidieť ich životy, ich skúsenosti, ich oči či pohľad a komunikovať a podporovať ich. Druhá vec sa týka mojej profesie. Vlastne od apríla 2022 sa s pomocou slovenskej médií SME, Slovak Spectator, snažíme dať pocit domova vlastne pre tých Ukrajincov, ktorí sem prechádzajú kvôli vojne. Začali sme vydávať materiály v ukrajinskom jazyku. A bolo som neskutočne hrdá, keď do mesiaca spolu s kolegovia spustili tú webovú stránku v ukrajinskom jazyku, v ukrajinčine. Čiže to je asi prvá taká bola možnosť otvoriť a podporiť tých utečencov. A keď v zahraničí vlastne zaznie ukrajinský jazyk, tie pocity sa nedávajú nejak vyjadriť slovami. To je neskutočná akože šťastie a hrdosť, keď ukrajinský jazyk objavuje. A verím aj viem, že rodný jazyk pomáha aj v tých najťažších chvíľach. To naozaj. Preto všetku svoju pozornosť sústreďujem na zverejňovaní správ o živote a udalostiach na Slovensku, ktoré by boli pre Ukrajincov zaujímavé a cenné. Správy zo Slovenska v ukrajinčine sú miesto, kde sa Ukrajinci môžu dozvedieť užitočné informácie o živote na Slovensku. Sú miestom, ktorým pomáha orientovať sa v novej krajine a dáva im pochopenie, že tu nie sú sami. Že sme s nimi. Osobne si myslím, že otázka pravdivosti textov postavených na faktoch a vyváženosti je to, na čom by mali byť postavené akákoľvek materiály v médii. A jedných z dôležitých aspektov, ktorých som stretla s tým v procese práce, písania materiálov, je to sebakontrola a vyváženosť. Lebo mnohí Ukrajinci, ktorí sem prichádzajú, oni majú často psychickú záťaž a psychologické problémy. Preto moju úlohu a úlohu našich kolegov bolo publikovať správy na rôzne témy, vyvážené a odmerané. Čiže nedávať ten chaos a naopak ukludniť ich, netlačiť ich textami a nejakými rôznymi novinami, ale vysvetľovať a niekde naozaj byť psychologom. A z psychologickej z psychologickej strany vysvetľovať tie noviny a vlastne tie všetky texty ostatné. A je to veľká podpora naozaj pre Ukrajinu a Ukrajincov, ktorí prichádzajú sem a vlastne už tu žijú a socializujú. Tak my sme vďační UNESCO a japonskej vláde, Slovensku, dobrovoľníkom a všetkým ľuďom na Slovensku, ktorí podporili od toho februára aj doteraz podporujú Ukrajinu. A ďakujem. Sláva Ukrajini.
Veľmi pekne ďakujem, Alina. Musím v prvom rade povedať, že vaša slovenčina je fakt výborná. Takže vy ste podľa mňa tým príkladom toho, čo ja vidím. A videl som za moje pôsobenie na Ukrajine, kde som strávil asi rok a pol. A vždy som, prvý pocit, čo som vždy mal z Ukrajincov, bolo práve neskutočný talent a teda schopnosť sa adaptovať. Znie to ako klišé, ale podľa mňa to treba opakovať neustále. Ukrajina bojuje aj za nás. A toto si jednoducho musíme opakovať a stále pripomínať. So thank you very much. And last but not least, Marko, it's not always the best to be the last speaker, but I think after hearing all these great interventions, you are in a good position now to offer your perspective as the main actor behind all these, because it is really thanks to UNESCO that we are here today. So thank you once again, and please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rasto. And thank you for all these informative and inspiring remarks, excellencies, colleagues, partners, and Alina. It is with great pleasure and many expectations that I'm sitting here today for someone from the team that has developed and is now implementing this project. I have much hope towards what we will achieve all together. You can see here today the important actors and organizations present, and there are many others working behind the scene that are involved in the project. Thanks to the support of the government of Japan, we are able to gather key national institutions, including the government entities overseeing the refugee response, media regulator, and others. The various organizations working with refugees directly, like the UNHCRs in particular UNHCR, and the Norwegian Refugee Council, which is not here with us today, and of course, many media organizations and media development experts, which we have complemented with world-leading expertise, like from Deutsche Welle Academy. As the Assistant Director General, Mr. Jelassi, mentioned earlier in his video message, a key objective of the project is to support Ukrainian refugees by assisting host country media organizations to produce and broadcast content for, with, and by the refugees. Please allow me to explain how we intend to achieve this and where we are now. The very first part of the project, which has been concluded before summer, was to interview almost 700 Ukrainian refugees across the Republic of Moldova, Romania, and Slovakia. Here we learned how they access information, watch or listen to media, the issues they are concerned about, and what they want to learn more about. The research found that access to reliable and relevant information for the Ukrainian refugees remains a challenge. As UNESCO sees it, mainstream media are crucial in keeping Ukrainian refugees updated on humanitarian assistance available and other topics of interest and concern to them, especially because the refugees, they are spread across the territories, which is a bit particular compared to other refugee situations in other parts of the world. And the fundings of the study are provided to the project partners and serve as an important basis for the project activities, in particular those related to media production. This to ensure the high relevance of the project interventions to the end beneficiaries, which are the Ukrainian refugees. The study report will soon be made available to a wider public as well. An integral part of the project is to work with national and local media. Many of those identified and engaged in the 3 countries are located in areas with large refugee populations. They're both public and private media. In the case of Slovakia, it's mostly private media being engaged. And they will be supported by the project to integrate displaced Ukrainian media professionals into their editorial teams in order to allow them to participate in the planning and production of broadcasts in Ukrainian language. At the same time, the Ukrainian media professionals receive on-the-job training and coaching from the editorial and technical staff of the participating media. This to help them enhance their skills and most importantly, be at the heart of the support action that concern the refugee themselves. In addition, the project will set up audience consultative mechanism for the participating media, providing possibilities for both the Ukrainian refugees and the host community to reach the editorial teams with feedback and suggestions for the coverage of refugee-related matters. In doing so, we hope to ensure the inclusion of their views and perspective in the media content and the wider public discourse. Excellencies, dear colleagues and partners, as the Assistant Director General, Mr. Jelassi underlined, cross-sector collaborations are vital to this multifaceted project. This is because refugee response involves stakeholders from many different sectors and fields, and media actions cannot be conducted in a vacuum. Therefore, a set of dedicated activities, just like this multi-stakeholder forum, will establish partnerships and strengthen collaborations among media organizations themselves, but also between media and other types of stakeholders. A key purpose in doing so is to achieve a greater diversity of sources for refugee-related media coverage. For example, the project partners have conducted mapping of organization and directory, which range from governmental organizations to humanitarian agencies, and it will ensure that participating media can easily contact and work with them to get sources, information, and interviewees. Besides, the development of the editorial capacities for reporting on refugees is a crucial part of the project. As you see from the program, this morning's session is followed by the first series of workshops for the participating media on ethical and conflict-sensitive reporting. We have secured the participation of local experts and several renowned international experts, including here with us, Ms. Esther Enking, who is head of news and ombudsperson at the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, and Mr. Peter Dutoit, who has trained media organizations around the globe for decades on conflict-sensitive reporting. And for the second round of workshops on solutions journalism, which were scheduled for this October and November, in the case of Slovakia, after the elections, certainly, we have secured another experienced expert practitioner from a Nordic country. We are also delighted to have partnered with Deutsche Welle Academy, who are also with us today. As a leading international broadcaster, they will help the participating media review and strengthen their content, programming, and scheduling strategies. And I should also mention our partnership with the European Broadcasting Union, who has been instrumental in helping us establish partnership with its members in the project countries, like Teleradio Moldova, in the case of Moldova. As UNESCO section for media development and media emergency has a mandate to promote media diversity, the participating media will greatly benefit from this project through increased diversity in sources and content and improved audience consultative practices. And we look forward to collaborating with the media regulatory authorities in this regard as we aim to extend and expand the project beyond February 2024. Last but not least, I would like to highlight the team from our key implementation partner in Slovakia, MEMO 98, who are leaders in the field of media development and the media monitoring in the country. I still recall the first meeting that I had with Rasto and Ivan from MEMO 98 at the beginning of this year, while we were still doing the inception of the project. And half a year later, we have come this far. I am very confident and convinced that together we'll be able to achieve all the expected results as well as the unexpected results. Once again, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the government of Japan and the many partners and colleagues who are gathered here today. You are all indispensable in making this project a reality and a success. Thank you for your attention, and I give the floor back to you, Rasto.
Fantastic, and thank you also for doing really such a great summary of everything. I mean, I was putting notes not to forget about anything, but I think after your intervention, there is not much I need to add. But one thing I will add, actually, I was a little bit afraid. It's first time that I'm moderating a panel of 6, and this is why I stressed that we should keep the time, and I think it is the most organized panel I have ever moderated, because I think we are not even at 11 at this stage, so we are even ahead of time, but I think this is thanks to you, and I learned a lot from your interventions, and maybe just to say that we invite you now for a lunch reception, which will be available outside. Obviously, we have media representatives here, so there were already some interviews before the event, but if there is still more interest, please use the opportunity. You can interview the panelists after they finish. I think it would be nice also to do a group photo before we leave. So these are things that we will do right after we finish now. And then, of course, as Marco said, I think we have some interesting time ahead of us after lunch, not only to feed ourselves with some food, but also with some knowledge coming from our great experts, Esther and Peter, and of course our colleagues from Deutsche Welle. So with this, again, thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much to all the speakers, and we are continuing our work. Thank you.